Hi guys, it is time to start Magic Tree House number 12. Polar Bear breaks past bedtime. Polar Bears past bedtime. I'm reading backwards and upside down. Polar Bears past bedtime. I wonder where they're going to be. It looks like it's very cold. Let's see. Polar Bears past bedtime. Chapter 1 is called, Are You Serious? It looks like Jack is looking out his bedroom window at an owl. Whoo! The strange sound came from outside the open window. Jack opened his eyes in the dark. The sound came again. Whoo! Whoo! Jack sat up and turned on his light. He put on his glasses and he grabbed the flashlight from the table and shone it out the window. A white, snowy owl was sitting on a tree branch. Whoo! The owl said again. Yellow eyes looked right into Jack's. What does he want? Jack wondered. Is he a sign, like the rabbit and the gazelle? Remember in the other Magic Tree House books how Jack and Annie saw different animals and they followed them and it brought them to the Magic Tree House? It was kind of like a hint or a clue for what their adventure would be. A long-legged rabbit and a gazelle had led Jack and Annie to the Magic Tree House for their last two adventures. Whoo! Wait a second, Jack said to the owl. I'll get Annie. Jack's sister Annie always seemed to know what birds and animals were saying. Jack jumped out of bed and hurried to Annie's room. She was sound asleep. What? She said. Come to my room, whispered Jack. I think Morgan sent us another sign. In a split second, Annie was out of bed. She hurried with Jack to see his room. Jack led her to the window. The snowy owl was still there. Hoo! Said the owl. Then he raised his white wings and took off into the night sky. He wants us to go into the woods, said Annie. That's what I thought, said Jack. Meet you downstairs after we get dressed. No, he says go now, right now, said Annie. We'll have to wear our pajamas. I have to put on my sneakers, said Jack. Okay, I'll put on mine too. Meet you downstairs, said Annie. Jack pulled on his sneakers. He threw his notebook into his backpack. Then he grabbed his flashlight and tiptoed downstairs. Annie was waiting at the front door. They silently slipped outside together. The night air was warm. Moths danced around the porch light. I feel weird, said Jack. I'm going back to put on some real clothes. They're outside in their pajamas. You can't, said Annie. The owl said right now. She jumped off the porch and headed across their dark yard. Jack groaned. How did Annie know exactly what the owl said? He wondered. Still, he didn't want to be left behind, so he took off after her. The moon lit their way as they ran down the street. They entered the Frog Creek woods. Jack turned on his flashlight. The beam of light showed shadows and swaying branches. Jack and Annie stepped between the trees. They stayed close together. Whoo! Jack jumped in fear. It's just the white owl, said Annie. He's somewhere nearby. The woods are creepy at night, said Jack. Yeah, said Annie. In the dark, it doesn't even feel like our woods. Suddenly, the owl flapped his wings near them. Yikes, said Annie. Jack shone his light on the white bird as it rose into the sky. The owl landed on a tree branch right next to the Magic Tree House. And there was Morgan Le Fay, the enchantress librarian. Her long white hair gleamed in the beam of Jack's flashlight. So they're in the woods in the dark. Here's Jack and Annie. They're shining their light, and they see Morgan up in the treehouse. Hello, Morgan called softly in a soothing voice. Climb up. Jack used his flashlight to find the rope ladder. Then he and Annie climbed up into the treehouse. Morgan was holding 3 scrolls. Each one held the answer to an ancient riddle that Jack and Annie had already solved. You have journeyed to the ocean, the Wild West, and Africa to find the answers to these riddles, said Morgan. Are you ready for another journey? Yes, said Jack and Annie together. Morgan pulled a 4th scroll from the folds of her robe. She handed it to Annie. After we solve this riddle, will we become master librarians? Said Annie. And help you gather books through time and space? Said Jack. Almost, said Morgan. Before Jack could ask what she meant, Morgan pulled out a book and gave it to him. For your research, she said. Jack and Annie looked at the book's title, Adventure in the Arctic. Oh, wow, the Arctic, said Annie. The Arctic, said Jack. He turned to Morgan. Are you serious? Indeed I am, she said, and you must hurry. The Arctic is a really, really cold place, kind of like the North Pole. I wish we could go there, said Annie right away, pointing at the cover. Wait a minute, said Jack. We'll freeze to death. Fear not, said Morgan. I am sending someone to meet you. And just like that, the wind started to blow. Meet us? Who? Said Jack. Who? Said the snowy owl. And before Morgan could answer, the treehouse started to spin. The leaves started to shake. It spun faster and faster and faster, and then everything was still. Absolutely still. Here are Jack and Annie. They look like they're shivering, like they're cold. What do you think they landed on top of? Is it rocks? Maybe it's ice. Do you think this is the ocean? The next chapter is called The Howling. So we will find out what happens when we read next week. Goodbye, first grade.